Hello and welcome to the series on my channel where I recommend a wide range of things like books in different genres, fiction and non-fiction, manga, manhwa, manhwa, anime and donghua, Korean and other Asian dramas, as well as K-pop content and whatever else I add onto that list as time goes by. They're just going to be short mini clips that give a summary of what I'm recommending, my review of it, and why I think you should try it. So you've probably seen the videos about the decline of shoujo and josei, addressing the concerns of the many viewers who enjoy content created for both demographics. And with the announcement of a bit more shoujo and josei anime than usual in the past year, it's really easy to start to get optimistic that we'll see an uptick in the anime and promotion for both shoujo and josei that matches the energy seinen and shonen contents are usually given. But we're not going to have any proof of that until the data starts to show otherwise. If you're not familiar with the video I'm referencing here, I highly recommend you watch it. There's a link to that video as well as a follow-up one from the same creator. And in both videos, she talks about topics like how shoujo anime has become less prevalent in seasonal lineups, why ongoing shoujo manga are not getting licensed, the definition of shoujo, which is a very important portion of the video, but she also addresses the excuses studios make for not picking up shoujo anime. The main point in both videos is that shoujo and josei are not taken seriously as something girls or women are interested in. But in the meantime, all we can really do is support what's being released as much as possible by streaming and being very vocal as consumers that this is what we want. Which brings me to my recommendations in this video. Today's first recommendation is a manga series titled Watashi no Shiawase na Kekkon. You'll see it in the English title, My Happy Marriage or My Blissful Marriage. I started reading this series during the pandemic in 2020 and I got all caught up until the manga stopped getting updates last year, probably around the same time that I saw the announcement for the anime adaptation. It was described as a Cinderella-inspired fantasy romance, so I didn't have much high expectations, but I started reading it and the story immediately drew me in. I reread it again recently after I decided to actively collect the manga, so the plot is still pretty fresh in my memory, and it is definitely a Cinderella-inspired story but with some slight modifications, and the paranormal twist and characters in the story make all the difference in establishing the series as an enjoyable read. My Happy Marriage is set in the Taisho era and is a story about a girl called Saimuri Mio who was born into a bloodline with supernatural powers, but she did not inherit one. She was also born out of a loveless arranged marriage, and after her mom passed away, her dad reunited with the lover he was separated from for the arranged marriage. Her stepmother hates her because she represents all the time she lost with her dad, and her dad doesn't care much for her either, seeing as she was the product of a marriage he did not want. Mio is unloved and her status in the family is practically reduced to that of a servant. She is mistreated by her parents and her younger half-sister, Kaya, who inherited the supernatural abilities in the family's bloodline. At the beginning of the story, Mio is sent off to the leader of the Kudo clan, Kyoka Kudo, as a marriage partner, and he is described as a military captain who is rumored to be so cruel that he drove away every single one of his potential wives so far. And she is expecting to move from a painful upbringing to an equally painful marriage, but contrary to her expectations, Kyoka is actually quite kind-hearted, and what really awaits her in her marriage is a happy and blissful life, as the name of the series suggests. Now, I know all of that sounds really basic and like a very simple plot, but there are actually quite a bit of background shenanigans that move the plot forward. And if you don't want to go through the hassle of reading the manga, because it really is a hassle, the anime is currently airing and I'll do a quick review of the first episode. Please note that this portion of the video will include spoilers if you haven't watched the anime, so proceed at your own risk. I wasn't sure how much of the manga will be covered in the anime, but the third official trailer showed quite a bit of it all the way into volume 4 of the manga, where I can remember reading until it stopped getting updates. The trailer promised fans a show with very beautiful animation, and so far I think it's delivered. The first episode of the anime aired on Wednesday, the 5th of July on Netflix, and it will continue to air every Wednesday for all the 12 episodes it's scheduled for. It stayed true to the manga, properly portraying the mood and emotion that the first couple of chapters in the manga take you through. Mio's hopelessness and her tendency to hide her pain and just obey every order given to her after years of being beaten down repeatedly by her family. And the first few scenes in the episode take you through that with her narration. I didn't even know what happiness was, and any gleam of hope always disappeared right before my eyes. I had lived my life always thinking that my existence was not necessary in this world until that day when I met that man. This gives the viewer a very good idea of Mio's internal state, and watching her interaction with the rest of the family, you wouldn't even think she was related to them in any way. She looked like a servant, and one that was treated pretty poorly at that. Because being the help is not cause for someone to be treated like that, and we automatically are able to see that that is a treatment that is reserved for Mio specifically. And this motherfucker right here, the sperm donor who created her, he just sat there sipping his tea while Kaya and her mom did whatever they wanted to her. There is absolutely no light or hope in Mio's eyes, and the only hint of life you saw in them throughout the episode was when Koji, a friend of hers, was introduced. You can see that she starts to get a bit of hope when she thinks that she has a marriage offer from him, but that hope is immediately dashed when Kaya is chosen to be his bride and she is instead sent off to Kyoka Kudo as his marriage partner. Mio leaves home without even being escorted, just like someone they can't wait to get rid of. She arrives in the Kudo house and Kyoka shows a hint of that cruel side is rumored to have, but he is so beautiful. I mean, look at the poetic way Mio describes meeting him. Like a flower coming out of the snow and her shut-off life started to move again. Wow, that is so beautiful. Now, I've read the manga, so I can attest to the fact that this is in no way a toxic relationship where she just accepts someone treating her terribly because it's slightly better than the treatment she got from her family. He is a genuinely kind person, and subsequent episodes will reveal his personality a little bit more. Girl, I agree. The first episode ended with their first meeting and a very beautiful ending theme song. Now, we've spoken a little bit about Mio, and the episode focused heavily on her as she's the main character, but other characters I wanted to talk a little bit more about are Koji and Kaya. Koji is someone who I think genuinely cares about Mio and he wants to help her, but he's powerless to do so. He's, after all, a side character for a reason. Like, we can't have him acting up and outshining the main lead. I'm just kidding, but his character was written as a cowardly one, and I honestly don't know what else he could have done in that situation. In his defense, he did try to fight back by bringing the issue up with his dad, but if you've read the manga, you know why his father was so adamant on the decision he made. And Kaya, I think she's a very important character that represents one of the sources of Mio's pain, and although I cannot stand her, she's also the unfortunate product of her parents' upbringing, who I think are the real monsters of this story. Their nurture is very evident in both Mio and Kaya. Mio was neglected and mistreated, so she lacks self-esteem, which you can see throughout the episode and how she just accepts whatever bad luck life throws her way. But on the other hand, you have Kaya, who was basically raised to think she was better than her older sister, so she's very entitled and has an elevated view of herself. Overall, I'm really excited for the rest of the anime if this is the quality we can expect for the remaining 11 episodes, and honestly, the best option for Mio was always to leave that house and be free of her terrible family. Fortunately for her, they didn't know much about the Kudo clan and just married her off to the family based on rumors alone, assuming that someone of status as low as hers didn't deserve any better than a man who was supposedly that cruel. It truly was a beautifully animated episode, and I can feel myself falling in love with the story all over again. In other news, on to my second recommendation. If you were not aware, an anime adaptation was announced for Yubisaki to RenRen on the 5th of July. Yes, the very same day the first episode of My Happy Marriage was released. Oh my god, what a great day. Yubisaki to RenRen, English title, A Sign of Affection. This series has been one of my favorite romance manga in the last year, and when I watched the trailer, I legit wanted to cry because it was so beautiful and it made me so happy. In fact, the only thing that stopped me from crying was the fact that I was at work at the time. The voice acting for Yuki and Itsuomi were so perfect, like I couldn't have imagined it any other way myself if I tried. Also, I was able to understand like 75% of the trailer without subtitles. Yay for language learning! Yubisaki to RenRen is the beautiful love story of a hearing-impaired girl called Yuki and her encounter with the world traveler Itsuomi. The story is not complex, it really is just a pure drama-free story that details the both of them falling in love with each other, and the art is absolutely gorgeous, which I think is very visible in the trailer as well as the poster. All the bright colors are so effective in portraying the mood of the story, which is just beautiful, fresh, and happy. I feel so happy just looking at it, and I cannot stop watching that trailer for the life of me. I watch it every time I see it, and sometimes I even go look for it by myself. Yuki and Itsuomi are also very straightforward characters who are pretty open with their feelings, leaving little room for a dragged out storyline, and that makes for a refreshing read. This is another really good manga and anime to be on the lookout for, and I'll probably do a video on it in the future, but it's been announced for a January 2024 release, which is not very far with how fast time has been flying. Well, That's it, folks. Make sure you tune in to watch my happy marriage, and I will see you in my next video. Whatever day you find yourself watching this, make it a great one. Bye.